Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Can you start by telling us about IDignity and your role as Director of Philanthropy?
Absolutely. IDignity was started back in 2008 when a group of individuals from the five downtown churches saw that there was a need. We call it a social ill in our community, something that is not working right. And that was that people had no access to getting their government issued identification. So we set out to look for the organization that might be able to help them and discovered there wasn't an organization. So we put our minds together and did research and talked to the people that would be involved in helping us overcome this. And that was in 2007 and 2008. In May, we opened our doors, had no idea how many people were in need. We thought we'd probably do this about 3 months and be done. 15 years later, 28,000 individuals are still coming to our doors. And we, for the first 3 years, served or 500 people were in line needing identification, just needing help in proving who they are.
Oh, that's a lot.
It is. It's a huge
What are the
need.
different situations that people fall into that they need the service?
Many people, as you know, are moving to Orange County. And with the Real ID Act implemented in 2010 in Florida, they have to have their Social Security verification of that, if not their card. They have to have their birth certificate, and they have to have 2 pieces of mail. And their name has to match on all of those documents. So a lot of the clients we serve, about 50% are homeless, and the rest are struggling. They're not working because you have to have identification to work. And so that name really is a glitch for many of them. That is one barrier, that the name is not the same on all of their documents. So if you've been married and divorced, you have to have the document showing what legally changed your name. And so that's a barrier. People that are homeless get their bags stolen often, leaving them with nothing. Our clients come to us literally with no documentation proving who they are. So we come alongside as their advocate. We have 2 full-time attorneys on staff, and they tell them we're going to get over this hurdle as long as you stay engaged with us. We began pulling school records, hospital records, talking to family members, maybe reaching out to a church that they have a baptismal record of this person. We pull that all together and go to the health department along with the bar card from our attorney saying, I really believe this person who, is who they say they are. So as long as they stay engaged with us, we have a 96% success rate.
You oversee a team that raises 1.5 million annually. What strategies have you found are most effective in fundraising for the nonprofit?
I believe the most effective strategy is sitting down like we're doing here today, one-on-one, sharing the story. The first hurdle for me is that most people don't even know identification is an issue for people, that there are 50% of our citizens out there struggling without being able to prove who they are. So first of all, I start telling them stories of how we've been able to help individuals overcome this need of establishing their identity. And it's something everyone can relate to. Once they understand it, it's something they can relate to, and most want to give to our efforts. We do apply for lots of grants, county, city, and lots of foundations in our community. But the individuals are the most generous in our database. We have lots of people that have been giving since we started.
You refer to this as your dream job. What makes it so fulfilling?
Seeing the look on our clients' faces after they get that little piece of plastic called the identification. One client named Rashawn had struggled for years. He tried on his own to get his identification, just coming up with roadblocks. And he came to us after hearing about us. And within a few months, we were able to get his birth certificate, which there was a discrepancy on it. So our attorney worked and was able to get that. So the day he came to pick up his documents, he just held his little piece of identification in his hand and stared at it and looked up with tears streaming down his face and said, "You didn't just give me a little piece of plastic today. You gave me my life back, my freedom."
Wow.
So, knowing that we play such an important part in the lives of our citizens in our community, helping them get through this barrier in their life, that opens doors to everything, to healthcare, to employment, to um, getting housing. You can't do anything in our society legally without identification. So just knowing the impact we have on people's lives, it makes it so fulfilling. And that's why I think it's my dream job. I mean, how many people get to do that, right?
Hmm. What are some of the challenges that you all face and how do you overcome them?
The challenge is the need is great. There are 117,000 individuals in Orange County today who cannot prove their identity. So we open our doors on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have 30, anywhere from 30 to 60 individuals show up, and it's meeting the needs of the need out there of getting identification. We are a small staff of 11, but we have lots of great volunteers. But the need is great, and just knowing that the need is growing with the people moving into Orange County. So that's probably the biggest thing is the challenge of serving all of our individuals with a small staff. Of course, raising money to be able to do this is also a challenge. We estimate each IDignity client costing IDignity about $400. And we serve about 3,000 a year, so that's a lot of money that I get to raise. So it's always a challenge. We always do raise the money, but and also, as I mentioned, helping people understand that this is an issue, that there are people struggling without being able to prove who they are.
You're known for sharing some of these stories. You shared a couple of them with us today. How can ordinary people get involved and support this cause?
We love having new volunteers. People that volunteer with us feel like they're really making an impact. We're one of the few nonprofits where when you volunteer, you are face to face with a client, helping them get the identification they need, but hearing their story. So we have volunteers that come on site. We have volunteers that volunteer with us remotely, calling our clients back, letting them know a document has arrived, that setting appointments for our clients. So that's one great way they can get involved is becoming an IDignity volunteer, and it's a very rewarding experience. Also, donating. We have a great website that you can learn a lot on our website. There are great stories, great videos. You can donate right on our website, and the money goes directly to helping our clients get the identification they need. Just learning about IDignity, that we exist in our community, and sharing that story, being an advocate, whether you're at a cocktail party or working out at the Y or wherever you are, just sharing that IDignity does exist, and we exist to help all U.S. citizens. It doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, as long as you're a U.S. citizen and can prove that, we will help you get the identification you need.
Before we head on to our activity, what one message or insight would you like to share with our viewers to take away from this conversation about access to social equity?
I think it's important that we all take a look at how very blessed and privileged we are in our community, and knowing that there are people that are struggling. I'd like to challenge our viewers to think about their identification every time they take out that little piece of plastic, whether it's a driver's license or a state ID, just to remember that there are so many people that don't have access to that identification and therefore are blocked to doing things in our community. So just the awareness of knowing how very blessed we are, that we have identification and that we can prove who we are.
We have a few images here, and I would like for you to share with us what your feelings are when you see this image about social equity. And we'll go ahead and tape it onto the board.
I think this picture represents access to food, oranges. A lot of times when you don't have access to the basic needs, whether it's food, clothing, housing. I don't know.
It's an interesting picture. There's a
is.
tree. It looks like there's a hand pushing down the other branch.
Yeah.
There's
Helping.
someone on
Yeah.
the hill that can reach it on their own. So this person's
So I
getting
think
help.
it represents us all looking beyond ourselves to help those in need. I think the person on the far side clearly can reach, but so many of us can't reach, and the things that we need to participate in our society are out of reach. And therefore we need all of our
We need a helping
nonprofits.
hand.
Yeah, which oftentimes are played out with nonprofits and people who really care, like yourself.
This one is very, I'll say a famous one. I've seen this a lot. There's different versions out there as well.
I love this picture. How adorable. Again, when we help people, and sometimes it's just as small as putting an extra step or box up so you can see over the fence. Sometimes it's just the smallest thing, you know, opening a door for someone, returning a shopping cart, helping people reach something on that top shelf in the grocery store. I think there's opportunities for us to play this out every single day.
Yeah. Like sometimes, you know, you may try to make everything equal, but
Yeah,
someone's missing out.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
by giving them a little bit of a boost, then, you know, they could have equal access.
Yeah, good point. You're absolutely right.
This one.
Great picture. What makes our society so wonderful is that we do have diversity. We're all different. We all have a different story to tell, but every story is so important. And I think that's what this picture represents is, you know, we're all in this together, and we all have something to offer each other, regardless of who we are, what we look like, whether we can stand on 2 feet or not. We're all important.
And I love this flag because it just shows, it includes everybody. It's so inclusive.
It's a beautiful representation, and I think we need to keep this in our mind's eye. You know, I think sometimes we get very tunnel visioned, thinking it's just about me and my background, but this reminds us. And I think, again, it reminds us that it's not all about people that look just like me. You know, I'm going to be richly blessed by reaching out to people who look different than me, who act different than me, who come from different backgrounds than me. Women's power, very important. And I think that we need to keep that in mind, that women aren't equal, unfortunately, even in this day and age, but they have every right to be. We work just as hard, we play just as hard, and we're just as important. But it takes both male and female working together.
Yes, definitely. And the top one here is a quick like infographic, diversity of people, perspectives, equity, and policy, practice of position, inclusion via power, voice, and organizational culture, justice with equal rights and equitable opportunities.
Those line up so beautifully with IDignity's values. And, you know, 3 out of 4 of those are on our value statement, and it's really about the justice that having an ID is a human right for every single person, and the social justice out of that creates the opportunities for them to participate in our society.
And this one's similar to that one over there, diversity. And I like the way this one added in the age differences too.
Yes.
And this one here, we have a giant here and pouring water on a small person growing in a plant. It's like them, I feel like it's them sharing that growth and trying to grow others up to where they are.
Yeah, it's great that he's got the watering can, right? And he's not taking his fist and pushing them down, but raising them up to their full potential.
Yes, I like that. And social justice.
Mhm. And social justice is so important. And I think sometimes when we live in our comfortable lives and we grow up in a privileged home and we're comfortable, that we forget that all of us are called to work towards social justice and equality in our community.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
You're
joining us.
welcome.
This was a
Thank
lot of fun
you.
and
This
very
has been fun.
educational. And I just love how you are so passionate about what you do.
Thank you. It's been
Thanks.
a privilege being here. I appreciate your time.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.